Bipartisan police reform talks collapse in Congress after Senate lawmakers failed to reach a deal on new federal police reform sparked by the death of George Floyd. Now, the bill failed on qualified immunity, the legal safety net that protects individual officers from being personally liable for on-the-job incidents. Joining us now is retired Sergeant Betsy Brantner Smith. She's the National Police Association spokesperson who has spent nearly 30 years in law enforcement and a law enforcement trainer. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you so much for your service. Let's talk about what does this mean now for police departments across the country?
Well, I really believe this is a positive for police departments around the country because law enforcement in the United States is very decentralized. And, we don't need a federal standard for training or any of that because each state manages their own police departments. The whole point of states' rights in law enforcement is so that people have local control over their law enforcement. So the people elect their mayor, they elect their sheriff, who controls their local, they elect their governor, they control the state law enforcement. That's the way America is supposed to work. This federal law that they're trying to do to pass, no chokeholds and no knock warrants, what this is a pandering to the anti-police narrative, and it really has nothing to do with law enforcement. George Floyd did not die from a chokehold. George Floyd died in terrible circumstances, partially from a drug overdose. The police officer that was involved in his death is in prison now. And the no-knock warrant is because of the Breonna Taylor case. Breonna Taylor did not die because of a no-knock warrant, and indeed the police officers knocked and announced. In fact, if they'd have utilized a no-knock warrant in the Breonna Taylor case, she might very well be alive. So this is more pandering to the anti-police left, and frankly, we're glad it failed.
Yeah, you talk about the anti-police movement. There's so many people in Washington who want to defund the police department, yet we have officers who are retiring early, officers who I've spoken to that don't even want to go to school and pick up their kids if they're wearing their uniform because they're threatened, and people look at them and they're the heroes, but people don't seem to think that.
Well, and that's the frustration. And we see now in crime rates around the country, the FBI just released the crime statistics from 2020. We saw record homicides, more homicides since they started keeping track of that in 1960. So what has the defund the police movement done? It has endangered people, especially low-income people in Black and brown communities, because the police have backed off because they don't want to be excoriated for doing their job. And now we're seeing this on a federal level. We just had the President of the United States say border agents will pay for a photograph that he doesn't even know what really happened. In addition to being a cop, I happen to be a horsewoman. You know how I control my horse? With the reins. So now you have the President of the United States and the media and Democrat politicians attacking federal law enforcement, the Border Patrol, in the way that they have attacked local and state law enforcement for the past 15 months. So what do you think is going to happen at the border now? We're going to see a big rise in crime at the border, which is what we're already seeing.
Yeah, because they say they need their horses to do their job. Betsy Brantner Smith, thank you so much for coming on the show today, and thank you for your service.
Thank you.